Hello viewers, welcome to the video lecture series on machine learning. Today's topic of discussion is on clustering. Basically, this session is about the basics of clustering, that is the introduction to clustering, and also you will be knowing here the different applications of clustering, then the advantages and disadvantages of clustering and challenges of clustering. Clustering in machine learning is an unsupervised learning technique used to group similar data points together based on certain features or patterns. So here, first thing is, it is an unsupervised learning. That means there is no labeled data set. Whatever data set is given, in that you need to find out data points which are similar and you have to group them into cluster, or you can say that you are grouping similar data points and you call that group as cluster. So how many groups you are going to form? It depends on the number that is given for the clustering algorithm. For example, in k-means algorithm, we are using the letter k here to decide the number of cluster. If k equal to 3 means you are going to group all the data points into 3 clusters. So let us see these things, k-mean clustering and all in detail. Time being, I just wanted to tell you that you are going to group similar data points together based on the features or patterns. It helps discover hidden structures or relationships in the data without any labeled output. Each group formed is called as a cluster. So whatever group you are forming here, in that group you are placing the data points, similar data points, or data points having the same characteristic, and you call that group as the cluster. And data points within a cluster are more similar to each other than to those in other clusters. Clustering is widely used in customer segmentation, image compression, and anomaly detection. I'll be telling you later few more applications also of clustering. Popular clustering algorithms include k-means algorithm, hierarchical clustering, and db-scan clustering. So we'll see one by one in later sessions about these k-means and hierarchical clustering. Now let me give you one analogy for the clustering. Imagine you walk into a library with no signs or labels on the shelves. You decide to organize the books by looking at their topics, covers, and content. So here what exactly I am trying to tell is, suppose you want to arrange the books are there of all different categories, the books are there, but where exactly you will place the books? You are going to place the books into the shelves, but you are not having any label placed on each of the shelf. But still what you are going to do is, you will look into the book's cover and you will find out, okay, this book belongs to science, this book belongs to history, this book belongs to fiction. All the books of science, all the books of history, all the books of fiction you are placing like this. Normally if the label is there on the shelf here, okay, suppose let me take this is the label for the shelf, if it is placed history, then it is easy for you that okay, all history books you will be keeping here. But since there is no label mentioned on the shelf, you are placing the book into proper group by looking into the content of the book, the cover sheet of the book, you are placing that book into respective groups. So this act of grouping the similar books without knowing their exact categories beforehand is like clustering in machine learning. Grouping similar data points based on their characteristics even when you don't know their exact labels. Clustering algorithms, as I said, we have the k-means clustering, hierarchical clustering, and db-scan clustering. So we will be seeing these clustering algorithms in detail in later sessions. Presently, I'll just tell you briefly about this. In k-means, we specify the number of clusters and the algorithm assigns each point to the nearest cluster center. In hierarchical, it builds a tree of clusters based on distances between the points. In db-scan groups data based on density and can detect clusters of varying shapes. The expansion is the density-based spatial clustering of applications with noise. Next part, you should be knowing about the differences, because earlier so many algorithms you have learnt about classification. Now you are learning clustering. So you should be knowing the main differences between these two. Clustering is unsupervised learning, whereas classification is supervised learning. So in classification, it is the label for that particular data point is given and you are able to classify it. In case of clustering, there is no label data set. Based on the characteristics of the data point, you are trying to classify, and this is done based on the trial and error. In clustering, no prior knowledge, whereas in classification, knowledge of the domain is a must to label the samples of the data set. Cluster results are dynamic, whereas in case of classification, once a label is assigned, it does not change. Now let us see the applications of clustering. So there are several applications. I'll just read out here one by one. Grouping based on customer buying patterns is one application. profiling of customers based on the lifestyle in information retrieval applications, identifying the groups of genes that influences a disease, identification of organs that are similar in physiology functions, taxonomy of animals, plants in biology. That means you are grouping here the animals and plants based on their characteristics. So that is called as taxonomy. Clustering based on purchasing behavior and demography. So here purchasing behavior, fine. What do you mean by demography here? Demography gives you the statistics of human population in a place, in a country. Document indexing is one of the application of clustering. Data compression by grouping similar objects and finding the duplicate objects. Now let us see which are the challenges of clustering algorithms. We know that there are three different categories of clustering algorithm: k-means, hierarchical and db-scan. But what challenges are there for these clustering algorithms? A huge collection of data with higher dimensions, that is features or attributes, can pose a problem for clustering algorithms. Now when the data set is given, normally if there are only one or two features, it is easy for us. Even the numerical which you will be solving with the k-means clustering, you will be finding just two features there. But practically what you are having more number of features. More number of features or attributes can pose a problem for the clustering algorithms. If we do scaling for such higher dimension data, even then it is a problem, as some algorithms work with lower dimensions data but do not perform well for higher dimension data. This is one of the biggest challenge. Also, if you see the units of data, like some units you are writing it in kg, that is the weight of a particular item, and some of the items are in pounds. So this will pose a problem in clustering. Now what are the advantages and disadvantages of clustering algorithm? Cluster analysis algorithms can handle missing data and outliers. So this is one of the advantage, and missing data is also a big challenge in machine learning, but clustering algorithms handle that. And even outliers. What are outliers? Outliers are the points that are significantly different from the rest of the data. They appear either unusually very high or very low compared to the majority of the data. So the second advantage is it can help classifiers in labeling the unlabeled data. Then semi-supervised algorithms use cluster analysis algorithms to label the unlabeled data and then use classifiers to classify them. Semi-supervised algorithms, first they get the unlabeled data. To label it, they can make use of the cluster analysis, and then they can use the classifier algorithms to classify them. Fourth advantage, clustering is the oldest technique in statistics and it is easy to explain. It is also relatively easy to implement. So this point number 3 and point number 4 are almost the same. It is easy to explain and it is easy to implement. What about the disadvantages? The first disadvantage, cluster analysis algorithms are sensitive to initialization and order of the input data. What do you mean by this? See, some clustering algorithms, like for example, if you take the k-means clustering only, it starts by picking random initial cluster centers, or you can call it as centroids. So randomly it is selecting the initial cluster centers, and depending on these random starting points, the final clusters might be very different. Suppose if you run k-means algorithm twice on the same data but with different starting points, you might get different clusters. That is one disadvantage. And also it is sensitive to the order of the input data. Here I can tell you algorithms like hierarchical clustering or db-scan may give different results if the order in which the data points are fed changes, especially if there is no randomness control or streaming style processing, then definitely it is going to affect. Often the number of clusters present in the data have to be specified by the user. So k value has to be specified by the user. Scaling is a problem. So just now in the challenges also I have listed out. If we do scaling, even then it is a problem, as some algorithms work with lower dimensions data but do not perform well for higher dimension data. Designing a proximity measure for the given data is an issue. What do you mean by this? And first of all, what do you mean by proximity? Here, in order to decide how close the data points are there, you are going to design a proximity. Actually, what do you mean by proximity measure? It refers to a way of quantifying how close or similar two data points or two objects are to each other in a data set. Proximity measures, we have two different types. Two main types are there. One is for the distance measures. So this you will be seeing in the First, k-means algorithm, we are making use of Euclidean distance, but still you can make use of other distance formula also, like Manhattan distance, Minkowski distance. Distance measures is one type, and the other main type is the similarity measures. So in similarity measures, we can go for the cosine similarity, Jacquard similarity, or Pearson correlation used in the statistics. So these are the different advantages and disadvantages of clustering algorithm. So this is all about clustering in this session. So you got to know about what is clustering, then which are the different types of clustering algorithms, the different applications of clustering, the advantages and disadvantages of clustering, and the challenges of clustering. So these topics I have covered in this session. Hope you find it useful. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye bye and take care.